Hi again then guys, and welcome to a kind of different tune setup, you could say, for Gran Turismo Sport. This isn't one for winning races or for drifting or for drag events, at least not in a conventional sense. This is more of a novelty tune, and in a funny kind of way, this is almost like an anniversary tune for any who haven't been around since basically day one on the channel. The very first tune setup that I put out on YouTube was for Gran Turismo 6 way back in late 2013, and it was a reverse tune for the Chaparral 2J way before the community was doing that en masse, up around 290 miles per hour. This one isn't quite that quick, but as you saw from the title, from the thumbnail, it's no slouch, that's for sure. So for those who are unfamiliar with this, basically what we do is we tune the car in such a way that you've got a ton of power, a ton of torque, but also stretch out the gearing as long as possible using a gearbox flip, which you can do on this game and Gran Turismo 6, probably some of the older ones as well, but I haven't checked on that, to basically get the highest possible top speed in reverse gear. And as I said, this is purely a novelty tune to wow people. You could probably expect some people to think that you've glitched it or modded it or hacked it, so be careful who you use it around, but it's good for a laugh, it's a good conversation starter. So I'd recommend dropping the weight as much as you can. You don't technically have to do that, it can make it a bit more stable, but it does improve your reversing acceleration, which is a funny statement in its own right. As far as power, I'd recommend bumping it all the way up to level 5. Traction control I would turn off. You could put it on if you want to, but the acceleration's pretty slow anyway, so it doesn't really make much of a difference. As far as tyres, we've got super softs, of course, for maximum grip. Again, you could try different ones if you want to, though. As far as suspension, we've got the rear ride height as high as possible, the front as low as possible, and of course that means that the car has kind of a hot rod stance with the low front end, but the result of that is that it means when you're reversing, air can get underneath the back of the car, which can actually improve top-end acceleration, even if it is in reverse. It's funny how that works out in the game still, but it does. As far as the frequency, we've got that on 2. Anti-roll, you definitely want as high as possible. It helps to keep the car stable, because you have to bear in mind, of course, that a front-engine rear-wheel drive car with conventional steering, once you put it in reverse gear, it's now a rear-engine, front-wheel drive car with reverse wheel steering, because you're going backwards, so everything's obviously in reverse. Now, as far as the compression on the dampers, we've got those on 58, which is as low as possible. The rebound, also as low as possible, on 88. I've got 4 degrees of camber. You could go even higher if you want to, but that does hinder your top-end speed in particular, and neutral toe as well. Downforce you can't adjust. As far as the diff, I've just gone for halfway on initial torque, as low as possible for acceleration and deceleration, or braking. So again, you could change that if you want to. Now the most important part, of course, is the gearing. So in order to do this, you want to fit the fully customized transmission, or gearbox, put the auto setting as high as possible, regardless of if you're in miles per hour or kilometers. Then you want to come down to your final drive and put it as high as possible, all the way up to 5. Then you want to come back to your auto setting, click it down a peg and then back up again, and you'll notice that all of your individual gears are now much, much lower. Then you want to come to all of your individual gears, put them as low as possible. I haven't double checked as to whether you need to do that or if it's just the final drive, because technically they shouldn't affect reverse gear as well. But I've just done that for the fun of it, and we'll get to that more in a second. But the most important thing is to drop the final drive down to 2.3. Now you're probably wondering, if you are familiar with these tunes, why I haven't put it all the way down, because that is what I would usually do. Well, technically you can go even faster if you do put it all the way down, but the problem is there are no circuits in the game, as far as I can think of, really. Maybe the Nordschleife, if you go backwards, that would be worth trying. I haven't done that, where you can actually get it above 210, 212. The roads just aren't long enough. Plus, when you lower the final drive, the acceleration gets even slower, so it takes longer to get there. So 2.3 is a nice mix of both. You've got good acceleration, but also can get up around 210, 212, or even higher if you keep the car straighter. So that's it for the tune. Now, of course, to see what this craziness looks like in action, let's take it out on a track. Now, as I mentioned, of course, this tune is not to be taken seriously. It's not a competitive tune, it's just for the fun of it. Now, in Gran Turismo 6, you actually could rival certain cars going forward in reverse with cars like the Chaparral. That's not really the case as much anymore because the tracks don't really allow that. But if you do decide to use this crazy tune, which as you can see, can get you up around 210, 212 in reverse, then I hope you have a lot of fun with it, and of course stick around on the channel for more. I've also done circuit tunes, drag tunes, drift tunes, and various others too. But that's it for this pick, of course. I'll see you guys next time, and for now, as always, thanks for watching.